All right, team. So, once again, thank you so much for joining us today. And today we'll be learning about Terraform. So, first of all, we'll understand what is Terraform, why even we use them. Then later, we'll try to understand what are the syntax we have in Terraform and what is the best practice. So, we will start with the very basic so that we'll get to know. So, I'll go with this like agenda. So, exactly what not we can expect in order to work with Terraform. So first thing we'll try to understand what is Git workflow, right? Then we will try to understand second module, that is Terraform language basics and Terraform providers, Terraform resource, input, output, local values, what data source, and still local and remote, Terraform workspace, provisioners, null resource, Terraform modules. Okay, and this two, that is Terraform cloud, is not required, and this also is nothing much to discuss. And this is also very important, that 16 module, that is a dynamic block. So yeah, so if you know this much of resources in Terraform, basically maybe if you're able to understand it, any requirement in Terraform, maybe as an infrastructure code, you will be able to fulfill the requirement. So before that, let us see what is the meaning of infrastructure as a code or Terraform. So if I talk about infrastructure as a code, as name suggests, so we all are infrastructure, right? Be managed as an infrastructure as a code. Maybe I'll just reduce the size, sometimes disturbing. So first of all, infrastructure as a code, that is Terraform basically we are talking about. There are other tools as well, but we are going to be used as Terraform itself, that is HashiCorp language actually, okay? And it is open source. So if you know Terraform, almost you can manage any infrastructure. Now let us understand what is Terraform. Before Terraform, as I told you, Terraform itself, it is an infrastructure as a code. That means whatever infrastructure you are managing manually, right? These all can be used with the help of Terraform. As a code, you can manage it. Just like in Git, we have repos, we have so many application code, right? Same way, we can also create using Terraform. So before that, let me give a small problem with the traditional way so that you get to know exactly what is the advantage of using. Now, say for example, we are talking about a traditional way of managing infrastructures. So infrastructure could be anything. It could be your virtual machines. It could be your firewall, load balancer. It could be any resource or infrastructure in your cloud. Because we are talking about cloud, so we will talk only cloud related. Okay, but traditional things, if you just notice here, if you see the diagram, we have a admin one, and this particular person works for the particular development, and he takes 5 days to complete his work. Another person comes here. This is another from QA. He's also admin. He basically because as I told you, development once you do, you have to document well. That means whatever the applications or maybe infrastructure you are building it, you need to basically tell them that this is how it should be used, or this is what it has been utilized or used. Say for example, I want to build some applications now. Within the application there would be so many like dependency file or anything, or so many prerequisites are there, no? These all will be mentioned according to your documentations. So that then what happened, this person has it and he passed to the another person, admin 2. Because as I mentioned, documentation is very much important in today's system. Based on that only you have to do. So this person also took 5 days to do his things in QA related. Again another person, that is a staging area, his admin 2, took another 5 days, and so on, production till there. So if you even the disaster recovery also we need to plan, right? Say for example, why disaster recovery is important. For any reason your server or maybe application get crashed, how are you going to recover that, right? You need a way of doing like how we can recover as soon as possible, right? So I don't want to lose the customer's business, your customer's business also, right? So we need to plan well as a business thing. So this is why. So if you talk about all this, we are going to take almost 25 days. So this is the one, this is a traditional way. Now if I come little bit down, Now problem is what happens, we have taken almost how many days here, 25 days. Now this is also, if you see again, same admin one traditional way, development one will have a no CI, and there is some delay. And in the admin one, again, this person, let's say, while doing some documentations or anything, because as I told you, you have to define all your prerequisites, right? Or so if it is missing something, then definitely it will not work in other states also, or it will work but then it will not work as what we expect to be working, right? So this is the reason, let's say, if in your documentation itself, for any reason there is some small mistake or maybe big mistake happens, then it will not work as expected. Like it will come a issue, and then it will be outage or may come in a production time, isn't even in a disaster also it may not sing also. This can be a biggest challenges, right, to basically manage all your infrastructure. So this is why we are talking about, or we are learning Terraform now. Traditional, like, and also second example of traditional, if I have to talk, say for example, this is a production one, production two, three, and so on. Now that means, say for example, these all the number of servers, let's say, we all know what is server, right? So if we say, let's say this is a server, we have 1 2 3 4 server. This is scale up. Say for example, this particular day, let's say from Monday to Friday, that means these all are business day, right? Monday to Friday means mostly we are actually working it, even, right? Now say for example, and the weekend, weekend may have, let's say weekend, we do not have much people, or maybe customer, or maybe who are working the particular applications. That means if it is a weekdays, as I told you, a number of requests are more. You need to plan such a way that how we can actually scale up the server. That means instead of having, let's say here we have let's say this is 4 server we have it. If it will require, how we can even increase, let's say 10 15 as in when required. This is only weekdays. But when we come, if you, let's say if you have to create manually this one 4 server you're creating, but on your weekend you are using only 2 server, right? You are using only 2 server. Now what is the problem here? 2 server, there is no problem. But one thing we need to understand is that we are actually losing our costs. We are lot of, simply we are wasting our money here, because if it's not being used, what is the point of running your applications in multiple servers? Because as we told, all this, right? So you need to, how we can save the cost, we need to think. So instead of, if it's not using, why not be scale down? As simple, on weekend we can scale down. We don't need 5 server or 4 server, we can simply have 2 servers. That's okay for me, so I can scale down. But when it comes to the traditional method, this is something not at all feasible. They can be possible, there should be somebody always, right? But somebody always cannot look after this kind of situations. Let's say there is a requirement, it comes sometime, there will be a lot of traffic, sometime may not be that much of traffic. So how are you going to understand the request of this thing? It is quite unnatural, right? You cannot like assume that okay, this many will come. So if you define such a way, that automated way, it will be much more easier for us to basically plan according to the requirement, right? So this is why we have to know how we can do all this automated way. This is one of the example I'm just giving it. Just think in this situation. So on demand scale up or down is not an option, because as I told you, we don't have any choice. We can't have anything in manual way, in traditional way. So this is why Terraform can help us in that. So what Terraform can do? Manage using SIX, that is infrastructure as code with Terraform. Okay. So say for example, you have a development now, and admin one works 5 days, and he works in with one check in Terraform code. He works in Terraform and he pushed the code to the GitHub, just like how we did it the time, and he get trigger everything. Only time he needs is that when he build the infrastructure, or whenever he will for the first time, whenever he creates the infrastructure, only the specific time he will be taking little bit time. But once code is been tested or everything is working fine, then they should not be thinking much about the code quality, because it has been already tested, as simple. So with the help of Terraform, this can be possible. Now we get triggered now, then they can create the infrastructure in cloud. Say for example, they can deploy to the dev, then we can also same code dev, whatever we are using. We will only do changes. Let's say, as I told you, development would have a different configurations or different requirement. When it comes to the QA, would also have another requirement. Requirement in the sense is kind of the different configuration altogether. Say for example, you need some particular configuration, so you may need to do some changes, right, in your environment variable. So only tools will be changing. You will not change the entire code. You will only change the environment variables or environment related. But same code can be deployed. So this is why we say it can be reused templates. So whatever you have deployed, because it works on, it is working fine. So I will same code I'll use, only I'll modify QA related informations. Let's say owner name, application name, or anything like that. Or could be your what I call environment variables. Don't worry now if you don't understand what is variable. I know you will understand anyway. And then third, we have a staging area. Same as I told you, same thing we are using. It will quick and fast. Then we can directly after staging, we'll do some testing there. Then we will also move to the productions. Then obviously having all this in one place will be more reliable, definitely. And at the same time, we can think of the disaster also. Why disaster? There's if you use also, as I told you, for any reason something happen here, you can easily recover. Track for audit as well. So if you see all this is okay. Sorry. Yeah. So all this, if you see here, 25 days reduced to 5 days, provisioning environments will be minutes a second. That means, as I told you, only for the first time, whenever you develop the code, only during that time, that code, that time, only that time, it will take time. Somebody, bro, can you unmute? Yeah, it's okay. That's the thing. Okay, and that means what I was saying is that you will take time only when you develop the code. One code has been developed, it has been tested properly, everything. Then it's a minute. You just need to modify the changes you need. Rest all same code can be used across environment. That means this is the beauty of using Terraform, right? Infrastructure as a code. For example, now you don't have to worry about any issue because code has been tested. Only during this time it will take time, what you call building time. Rest, you can think of doing anything. You can modify code or do changes according to your requirement. So this is the benefit of using a Terraform, right? Now if we talk about some of the like what you say that you can also see here we have a some of the benefits. Visibility, right? Visibility means you can see what kind of changes happen. If you see the definition, you can read later if you want. And also we have a stability. Scalability is something that we know it what it means, right? You can scale up or down depends on business need. And also we need to have the proper security also. So security wise also we are good because we have tested the code and everything is working as expected. And if there is anything required, like they need to do some auditing and all, let's say particular set of code, who did changes when, or particular infrastructure is modified when, everything for every single commit, as I told you, there is a commit ID get created, right? So it will be much easier for us to basically manage it, also the audit for auditing purpose as well. Okay, I hope this is clear. So what we will do, we will try to understand how we can install Terraform. So I have till now you have clear why we are using Terraform, what is the advantage of using Terraform, right? So let us see now how we can install Terraform. Now, in order to install
Hriyen,
Terraform,
uh,
yeah,
can you just give a brief summary of before what you said? Why you use Terraform once again, please?
okay,
Just a
okay,
brief.
okay. Terraform is nothing but if you see this diagram, right? See, basically, right now, let me show you. Can you see my portal screen?
Yeah, yeah,
Let's say I'm creating a virtual machine now. You know what is virtual machine, right? You are
yeah,
aware?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
It is a cloud service, right? Where you can. So in my case, it is also just a virtual computer. Now I want to create something here. That means I can select anything for now. Maybe I'll try to create anything random. This, let's see. Oh shit. So basically, I will not create anyway. I'll just show you know. Let's say I want to
Yeah,
create these virtual machines. I need to select whatever. I need to select the subscription details, resource group details, and also I need to select the virtual machine name, regions, ability zones, ability.
yeah. I know
This.
that. I know. I have a gist of it. Creating a
Uh,
virtual machine and
yeah,
deploying it on the server.
yeah. So these all we are doing using what? GUI, graphical,
Graphical
right?
user
Huh,
interface.
interface. Yeah. So that means we are doing manually that. That simple in simple or we say that we are working or we are creating this one manually, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Now say for example, when you have to create 100 times, in the sense 100 different virtual machines, same configurations, you need to create 100 virtual machines. How are you going to create?
yeah.
It is
Um,
going to
uh,
consume for you to basically create all the 100 virtual machines at one shot, or maybe it may take 3 weeks, 4. I mean, at least it will take minimum is 3 to 4 days will take, right, to create 100 virtual machine,
yeah,
or maybe more. Not just the taking the time, but at the same time, if we had to create 100 virtual machine, there are high chances of making a mistake. Are you agree with that?
yeah,
There will be having high chances of having a mistake. You can have making a lot of mistake there, one or the other. Let's say you may select random resource group or random some other name you select there. So it may be a lot of mistake can happen. So that means now in this case that can imagine now that we can avoid having less mistake also in order to use, I mean if you want to use Terraform, and also we can save our time also, and same code can be used anytime everywhere you want. That means users need instead of one, just what you do instead of one creating the individual virtual machines, if you have created one with the same code, you can deploy to respective environment as many as you want with the same identical configurations. Identical, what it means, it is means same
same.
configuration of this, yeah, or maybe identical similar virtual machine you can create. If you want to make similar configuration, you just need to do some small changes in your code. That's it. You will not do everything from scratch. This is why we are using a Terraform. So that Terraform it is a, as I mentioned, it is an infrastructure as a code. That means you will not basically think about the how it is working. Your work is to basically make sure that your code is ready, it is working fine, it is well tested. That's it. If it is all well tested, everything is a one-time job. In the future, whoever wants to use the same configurations or maybe similar, you can simply send that same code so that they can reuse it, so that they can save your time as well, their time, right?
Yeah.
That means everything, instead of creating manually, we will use as a code, infrastructure as a code.
Okay.
Clear? Don't
Yeah.
worry, you will be clear much more if you're once we go there. Okay, this is the thing. Now let us see how we can install it. Installation very simple. I will be giving you this node as well. It is very straightforward. We need two things here. If you want to work with this thing, right, what you call, you need two things. The first is you like Git. Already, if you remember, we have already let me check, right, we have already installed Git, right? Git is installed. Then now we need to install Terraform. Now to install Terraform, what we have to do, it is also very straightforward. Let me show you. I will make this little down, otherwise, yeah. You can simply Google it. I mean, not Google it in your Chrome browser or maybe whichever your favorite browser. You simply type Terraform download. As you type Terraform download, as I told you, Terraform is nothing but it is a infrastructure as a core managed by HashiCorp. It's basically HashiCorp language itself. Now, if you want to download, there is an option. Click there. First link, if you click, you will see something like this. Install Terraform. Now, as you type here, this is basically a different type of your Terraform CLI. Okay, this is a Terraform CLI, command line interface. Now, you don't have to worry here anything. We are basically be downloading or maybe working on Windows. Then select the Windows. If you see here under Windows, select this one. There is AMD different version we can use, or I'm going to use this one. If it is a Linux, again we have to follow this one. Different Linux flavor depends on the flavor that you use it. Okay, but this is not a Mac. Mac means I can again use it. So let's go with the Windows. I will just download this one. Simply click there. Once you click there, the setup, the .exe file, it is going to be stored or downloaded in your local systems. All you need is you need to know where you want to store this Terraform, basically the configuration, what is it, dot dot xx file. Okay, exe file, dot exe file. Now if you see here, it is a create Terraform configuration is in zip file. We need to extract it first. Let me extract. As you extract, you will see two things here. One is if you Terraform dot exe, right, executed file. Now there is one more is a license, but we don't need license. What I need, I simply want this one. I can copy this URL. Sorry, not copy. I can just copy this .exe file. Now whichever wherever you want to keep the data, you can keep there. In my case, I will create one folder. This folder can be stored anywhere. That means you need a folder so that you can run Terraform commands. That is why. Why we are using means to basically in order to work with Terraform, you need to run the Terraform commands, right? This is why we are we record the Terraform CLI as well. So I can give any name. I will give as Terraform for simplicity purpose. As I type here Terraform, I can simply copy paste it here. Where is that pasted? That's it. As I copy paste this thing, same URL I will take. I will go to the environment variables. If you see the environment variables, 1 minute. Are we in the same place? Environment variable, maybe this one. Yeah. Now, if you see here, there are two types of environment variable. One is based on my specific name, that is my username. Another one is a system base. It again depends on you how you want that to be this thing. So for example, it is always good to use the system base. So if you see here, there is a part, right? What you can simply edit. Now sometimes we don't have this thing. So what you can do is you can say if you go to the part, right? PAT part. If you just go edit, you can go to new, simply copy paste it. So this is basically I want to execute this one, so we can define it. So once you define this thing, you can save it. Then you can close this also. We don't need it. Now next is we will, as I told you, I have already installed it before, but just to show you, if you want this thing, you can say Terraform double dash or just without this also you can use it version. Okay, if you see here Terraform version, that is B is nothing but it's a version 1.7.4, and that is a this is on Windows. Okay, so if you want to update, always you need to download the latest one or maybe upload. This is this the same way for Linux or Windows also. Now we have understood, we have installed the Terraform. Then what is the next now? After installation of Terraform, as I told you, these documents you can refer it. You can, this will help you to basically this thing. This is not nothing much to do, but as a technical person, you should be able to do it without this thing. As I told you, we have done all this one, so I can verify it. I have verified also. So next, next what we will do, we will try to understand now how Terraform works. Before that, we need to understand what is Terraform workflow, right? Now, as I told you, we need to install this one, Terraform CLI, and also Azure CLI or BS Core Git client. So depends on this thing. Azure CLI, why be required again? Maybe if you're working with a service like Azure, you would be needing a Azure CLI as well. Normally in your cloud or maybe Windows base, it is already there, but then still you can try Azure CLI download like that. You can try to install it if it is not there. But mostly nowadays Windows, it will be there. Okay. But yes, if you don't have it, you can install it. Question is, why do we need Azure CLI? Because we are talking about the everything will be um, what they call that CLI based, right? You don't have to do anything manually, right? Or maybe using the GUI mode. So this is why to interact with your different services, we have to use CLI as well. Now, once you install this CLI, next what we can do is, normally it will be there. You can check in your Windows. You can run the commands. You get to know otherwise. Okay. Okay. This you can ignore for now because we have done this one. And Git also we have already done it. Now directly we will understand the basic commands like Terraform workflow will try to understand. Now before that what I'll do is I will create a simple, let me remove this one. I will remove it anyway. I don't need this one for now. Okay, maybe let me close it. Okay, no problem. I will create a new folder here. The reason why I want to create is that it's for simplicity purpose. I will give a same name as what we are working on, Terraform, something like that folder as a folder or directory name. Now I will click there. I will copy the same, basically the folder part or directory part. I'll go to the BS core because as I mentioned, everything you mostly be working on your BS core only locally means with the help of Git concept here. Okay. So same way, I'll go here, file, and there is something called as the open folder. As I click there, it will take me to basically select the right folder or directory. I have copied the part. I can simply go desktop or fine also, but then I can, if you go, because we store in the desktop, right? So I select a Terraform. This also we can do it or directly I can paste it. So yes, I do not want to save my existing work. That means whatever I was working, I do not want to do anything. Okay, now we have understood this one. Now let us see what we can do with Terraform now. As I told you, we have nothing right now. It is basically empty folder. So the next I would be doing is that Terraform workflow. First of all, what is Terraform workflow? Terraform workflow is nothing but basically it is a kind of your organized way for every single commands. Whenever you want to basically work with Terraform, you need to follow the steps or maybe the this process. Say for example, I first need to run Terraform init for the first time, and then second time I need to do validation, third time plan, apply and destroy. But you may have a questions like, do we really need to follow all these steps? The answer is no, we don't need. But then why then we are talking about this flow? Okay, then let us see that. Now, as I told you, I have nothing right now. I will create one folder here because, and before that, I think I will be covering you one more. Maybe she. Okay, before that, let us see here one thing so that I can explain. If you Terraform language basic, that is a file. If you take a screenshot, look, have a look. Terraform directory, working directory. This is directory. Now we have something different. And if you see everything here, .tf extensions, right? What is .tf? .tf is nothing but it is a Terraform full form. Terraform full short name is TF. So anything you give last of your file extension as a file extension name, it will be considered as Terraform format. So whenever you write anything .tf extension, that means you are actually dealing with Terraform resources or maybe Terraform providers. Okay. So if you talk about here, I mean, see here, code in Terraform language is stored in plain text file within with the .tf file extension, as I told you. There is also a JSON based variant of the language that is named with the .tf.json file extension. We can call the files containing Terraform code as Terraform configuration files or Terraform manifest file. What it means, it says that right now whatever we are seeing, actually these all are in .tf file extension. But if at all you need to define something like a dot after .tf, there is something called a .json format file extension. Even that also support. But trust me, none of the company would choose this one. Okay, the reason being this is not much this thing used to it, so nobody does use this one. So we will be using always .tf format only, not with the JSON. But yes, it is possible, but nobody use it. Okay, and it says that here we can call the file containing Terraform core as. That means if there is any file that contains Terraform, we can call as Terraform configuration files or Terraform manifest. That means if you see under folder called as Terraform manifest AKS, right? Under this folder, we have so many different type of folders. That is a .tf extension. These all together combining all different kind of .tf files known as Terraform configuration file or manifest file. Okay, that means I hope you understood now, right? Now let me go to the here workflow. Then why we are talking about this one? Let us see now. As I told you, we need to get the file. I'm going to create the file under Terraform door. What is a folder name? In my case, what do you call that? Terraform. Under Terraform, I'll create a file. IQ1 create folder again create, but it's okay. I'll create direct file here under Terraform folder. Okay, I can mention main.tf. Question is what is main.tf again? Well, there is actually there are other, see if you just notice here, we can have actually different kind of extensions as well. Like if you notice here, um here main.tf we have, then we have a variable.tf, resource group.tf. It is just to understand what is basically a particular .tf file, what it contains, what kind of resource it contains. In order to basically identify that, we can specify the related name, a respective name. This is why we are using a variable.tf and then AKS cluster.tf, so that it will be easy for us to understand. It does not mean it has to be the same name. Any name that you wish to give, you can always give, but then the .tf extension should be always keep in mind. Okay. Now, okay. Question is then why are we using main.tf? Because main.tf is not required, then why we are using main.tf? Okay. Now, let us see that. I'll close this first because we don't need anymore. Now, the reason why we are using main.tf is that because normally in Terraform, there are three things we can see. Okay. Three things we can see here in Terraform. Like we have here something called as, like you will see something here. Uh, say for example, main.tf. Then second we have a variables as.tf. Okay, tf. Then third we have a output outputs dot tf. So all these we have it. So what it means basically, whenever if I see anything, these three things common, very common, you will see everywhere these three name. Every project you go, this three things you will see. The question is why are we using it this name? Can we use different name? The answer is yes. But what it contains within the main.tf file? Okay, main.tf file will contain the resources which are the main resource. Question is what is the main resource again? Let us see that. Now say for example, I will take you to the documentation so that you will understand better. I know it is quick, quite clearly, but anyway, I will give you as your storage account in Terraform. Okay. Now that means what is the type of the resource? We are talking about a storage account. That means anything in your main.tf, first of all, you should have a disk code because this is a resource group. Resource group can be stored in any other place also or within the same main.tf. There is nothing harm that you cannot store or anything like that. You can store everything as you need, no issue at all. But then if I talk about the main.tf, major focus would be according to the resource block that you're going to work with. In my case, the resource that is a storage account related, right? We are working with this resource. So mostly this block will be having always. Apart from this one, if you have anything related services or maybe like independent like dependencies, you can add them as well. So we can have it that one. Okay, then before that, okay, let me give a small this thing. Let me type something now. As I told you, I will have this thing. I will try to create resource group so that you get to know some idea. If you see here, while creating the resource group, what resource we need, we will get like this. Like we need subscription details and then locations. I mean resource group name and region where you want to deploy. That's it we need. Same way, if you want to authenticate to your BS, like your BS code to your cloud, you need to authenticate. This is why we have used the BS code, right? So that we can run RCLI from your local system. Okay, now let's say you want to create this resource. Now you can simply go to here also, or you can go directly to this blog also. This is the thing. I can simply copy or I can type. In my case, if I want to type, whenever just type resource and resource group. You can see here different name you can as your RM. You just mention resource group. Resource group automatically come and whatever local name you give. This is RG as a local name and name I can give anything name I can give. Don't worry now if you don't understand this one. I have everything explained in details this one. For now I'm just writing something that basically. Okay, so I will give this time. I will do hard code value. That means I will not define any variables. I'll just give in my RG something like that. As you type here, there is a very beauty of using the BS code. It is asking me that in order to create a resource group, you also would be needing locations. So that means I need to define a location also. As I told you, if you create here also, you need to define the resource group location, right? Regions. So this is why for me also asking me here. So I can give any region. For now, I'm everything West US, something like that. That basically this core is ready for the resource group now. What is resource group again? Those who are new, resource group is nothing but it is a container where you basically store or your Azure services. It could be any resources, so that we can have a based on the resource group. We can apply different policy, or if you want to restrict something, we can do that. We can define the RBAC role also. So many things we can do. It basically a isolated container where you can store all your services in one place. So based on the container or maybe resource group, if you want to define any resource, I mean any kind of policy or restrict something, or you want to log the resource group, everything is possible using the resource group. Now fine, this one I created now. Now if I create this thing, now if I try to run, just notice. Before that, let me show you. If I see here Terraform folder, I have only main.tf because main.tf is just now I have created, right? And I have some resource group related Terraform code. Now, just notice right now I do not have any other folder. Let me run Terraform. I will save. Obviously, I need to save. To save this thing, you can save all together, or you can save as just like that, or Control S. You can type it on your keyboard. Now, I will type as sorry, not Git. I am Terraform init. As I told you, Terraform init is something according to the workflow. It is telling us that we need to first thing would be Terraform init. Okay. Now it is now. Question is, why do we use Terraform init? The answer is every single time whenever you are basically working with Terraform, Terraform init is always must. Without running Terraform init, you cannot work with Terraform or you cannot run any other Terraform commands. I hope this is clear. That means Terraform init is so essential that without running this Terraform init, you cannot run any other Terraform commands here. Let's say Terraform validation, plan, apply, destroy. You cannot do anything unless you run Terraform init. For the first time, I'm saying it. Don't be confused. For the first time, whenever you're working in Terraform, you must always run Terraform init in first place. So I have done it. Question is, what is there while, what is happening actually in the background when I run Terraform init, right? Well, so let us see what happens exactly when I run Terraform init. Now, if you just notice it, as I type Terraform init, the first thing initializing the backends. Okay, that means it will also initialize the backends, and you can see also the provider plugins. What is provider plugins? We'll discuss when I show you this thing. Okay, provider plugins is nothing but in simplest case, the Terraform is one provider, right? Terraform to deal with different kind of services or maybe cloud provider. Terraform has their own provider. The provider has to connect or communicate with different services. That is your Terraform. I mean Terraform between the other services like Azure service or AWS or GCP. That means who communicate this thing? Only when you have this provider plugins. Without having the provider plugins, you will not be able to deal or create any resources in your cloud or anywhere it matter, doesn't matter. Okay, that means you should have the providers. So provider work is to basically communicate between your Terraform providers as well as the other service like Azure or AWS with the help of API calls. Okay, because as I told you, we are not going to do anything manually. Everything has to be automatically, it has to be deployed or created. Then if you can see here, finding latest version of this thing, that means this is nothing but this basically repository, or I can call as a HashiCorp's registry. We will understand more in details as we learn, but for now just understand this thing. And we also have a .terraform.log.lca terraform.log.hcl to record provider selections it made above. So we will see what it is also. Okay, now I think this much is okay for you. Now let me show you in the folder. As I told you, when I create for the first time, I do not see. But if you notice now, in the same folder, if I just refresh, or maybe you could already saw this, you have seen this, right? You will see something called as a .terraform.log.hcl, and then inside that something called as a .tf folder or directory got created. Now let us see one by one. Let us see inside what is there. As I told you, if you see the comments also, it says that the provider plugins basically download the latest registry. This is a registry URL basically for your cloud, Terraform. Now let me this thing. Okay, that means under .terraform folder, you will have a provider plugins. If you click under providers, they'll have something called as a registry.terraform.io. Is nothing but it is a registry, right? Provider registry for your Terraform. Now, if you go inside there, then we need to understand, as we all know, this is which is a provider, this is a Terraform provider, right? HashiCorp. Then under HashiCorp, then what is the Azure RM? Because we are working with Azure related. If you're talking about AWS, then in this case AWS. Then let me show you also that. You can simply type here Terraform registry. As you click for the first link, as if you type my bad, maybe. Let me check. Not resource, Terraform registry, right? Registry. Yeah. Okay. If I see for the first link, Terraform registry, if I type here, what I get to see. Let me give you a small idea about here. So if you see here Terraform registry, and that as I told you, we have a registry.terraform.io. This is what I was about to explain you. If you see here terraform dot sorry registry dot terraform.io, this is your registry. Under there, as I told you, this is Terraform, so it is a HashiCorp. Under here we have a provider, different providers. Let's say Azure provider, that is Azure RM. If it is a AWS, will come. Now let's see. Now till here we understood registry. Under registry, what now we can see here. The first thing, if you notice here, Terraform registry discover Terraform providers that power all of Terraform's resource types, or find modules for quickly deploying common infrastructure configurations. Now, if I go inside this browse provider, as I told you, providers can have a n number of providers. Now, you might have seen here this provider are logical abstraction of upstream API. As I told you, whenever you're working, and you can just read, they are responsible for understanding the API interaction and exposing resources. That means that is why the plugins got installed here or maybe downloaded locally, because this provider has to be communicated within your cloud services with the help of API calls. Okay. Now, if you can see under provider, as I told you, there are so many providers. We can see AWS providers, Azure provider, Google Cloud, Kubernetes, Alibaba, and so on. Right? There are many things. Now, we need to understand one thing. Let me go inside this provider. That means now this is only because we are working with Azure. If you see here this name, right? What is the provider name? Azure RM. Now, if you go here, you will see Azure RM. That means we are good. We are working with Azure provider. Hence, the provider has to be available or downloaded while using the plugins, provider plugins. Then, what else we have? If you see here, we have a three overviews. I mean tab. First thing is the overview. Overview basically nothing much. You will only see lifecycle management of Microsoft Azure using the what I call Azure Resource Manager APIs maintaining by the Azure team and Microsoft and the team, Terraform team at HashiCorp. As I told you, the HashiCorp in Terraform, they are actually managed. It is managed by HashiCorp company. Okay. So now this only you can see. Now, if I see here documentation, this is where any resources that you are going to work with Terraform in Azure service, I'm saying it, you will be using, you will be having lot many documentations. So for example, I want to create a virtual machines, or I want to create a resource group, I want to create storage account, or I want to create database. That means this all part of your Azure services, right? So all the resources, the Terraform core you will be finding here. Okay. I hope this is clear. Then next we have something called, okay, before that, let me show you, let's say resource group we are talking about, right? Just type resource group. You see a resource group. If you notice here, whenever you see this is a resource group, you will always see something called as the Azure RM. If you just notice, you go anywhere, everywhere almost, you will get a Azure RM in place first. Okay, the question is, what is Azure RM again? Why we want to just create the resource group? Why is this one come, right? Because Azure RM is nothing but, in order to create any resources, I need to first identify my provider. In my case, it is a Azure provider. In Terraform, whenever you want to create a resource, I need to define my resource type. Sorry, provider type. That is a Azure in my case. This is why coming Azure Resource Manager. Azure RM is nothing but it is a Azure Resource Manager. And then type of the resource. In my case, I'm going to create a resource group. So you could see this resource group name. So let me select this one. As you click here, Something like this you will be coming. Same thing if you notice here, I have already written the Terraform code here. Maybe let me just make this little listing. If you see here, this is I created. Okay, this is group. So that means you always see here. We can get. Don't worry now. Also, if it's still not clear, you will get to know as we learn. Now we have arguments and everything. Anyway, I will discuss this later. Before that, let's come to the point, that is understanding this flow. That means, okay, I will make you, okay, okay, okay. So this one, I just told you, this is a cloud provider, as a provider. Then next, what we need to understand, we have a this one. This is basically a, we need to understand this also. This is Azure RM. This is basically the provider version, Azure provider version, right? When you're working with Terraform, this is a the different version. If you see here, every single time the new, if you just notice 9 days ago, 10 days ago, 17 days ago, how frequently they've been just keep updating or changing, the basically releasing the new latest maybe this thing, right? Just imagine, this is the how frequent they keep changing it, updating it, new release. What is this all? This is all your Terraform Azure RM providers. This why, and if you see this version is 4.1, but actually when you type in your locally, let's say I type here Terraform dot version, if you type, it not be the same. It is only like a version 1.7.4. But if I talk about here, these are different. What are the why it is different? Okay, the first thing, if I talk about this version, this is basically your Terraform CLI version. A simple case. Why Terraform CLI version is required? Because whenever I want to run any Terraform commands and all, I need to basically load the Terraform configuration, right? Like I need to understand what is written in my Terraform code, right? I need to understand that. So with the help of this Azure, this Terraform CLI can help us to understand whatever I have written in the Terraform code, which is in .tf format. Okay. So also while to run your Terraform, any Terraform commands, basically, let's say I want to use Terraform plan also, right? After init, I can use a Terraform plan or validate like that. All this command with only because of this one only we are using this CLI, Terraform CLI. This is the version. These versions are different. But when comes to this particular version, is nothing but this is the version API versions of your Terraform. What do you call providers, basically Azure providers. Say for example, now if you try to use a different version, what happens is, because if you're using this version and you're trying to create some resource, what happens there? So let's say you're creating in simplest way, you are creating the storage account now. Sorry, resource group. If you're using the old providers version, what happen is something or the other may not work properly. The reason why it will not work is because it may not support properly, right? The reason why it will not support, okay, let me show you. The reason why it will not support, because every single release there will be something or the other, maybe updated new version, right? So obviously if you use something outdated version, then it cannot support properly, it cannot work as expected, right? This is why we need to understand this one. For now, understand this much, that's more than enough. Okay, then if you come back registry, then what else we have? We have modules. Modules, what it contains basically, like this, we have different modules. Now, for now, don't understand what is modules. We'll try to understand later as we go this thing. If I talk about modules, you can also see here, modules are shell content package of Terraform configuration that are managed as a group. That means, say for example, you are going to create a one resource, same resource, let's say this particular resource group I created in one of the project. Okay, this resource group is okay because this is small code. Let's say you have a big applications configurations, or maybe you have developed some big Terraform code. The same code, I want to reuse it. Reuse in the sense, I don't want to write a code from scratch, because as I told you, if we had to write a code from scratch again and again, you end up doing again another maybe 1 week or 2 weeks or 10 days also. So instead of wasting your time on that writing the code, you can simply use the existing Terraform code which is already available in your repos or in your repository, so that you can save your time. Okay. So only the changes you need, as I told you, those small changes or maybe required, you can define it. Say for in simplest case, if I talk about the resource group, same resource group, if I want to use in different resources, I can simply use a module, so that I cannot, I don't want to create again and again. Or maybe if you want to create, you can create it also, depends on your case to case again. So that can help us also save our time. Okay. Anyway, modules we will discuss later. Then next we have here. Normally we don't do much here and all, but if you want, you can explore. But trust me, there's nothing much to explore. Your work would be here, modules and the providers you'll be working. Okay, policy libraries if you think you can do, but yeah, it's a thing. Now I have this is clear. This till this much. Now let us explain this one Terraform init part. So as I told you, whenever I run Terraform init for the first time, it is going to download extension with dot Terraform file, or not file, basically folder or directory. Then under here we will have a provider and the registry and the hashicop. Under here we will have this. That means this is all the plugins. If you see here under this Azure RM, what is the version 4.2? I mean 4.220, right? If you see same thing as I already explained, if I talk about the Azure, because we are dealing with Azure, you can see 4.2, sorry, 4.22.20. Same thing you could also see here. Okay. If you go inside, let's see what is there. This basic nothing. You have your license related plugins and providers, everything. Expand it. You see here, Terraform provider Azure Adam got this is the exe got downloaded in your local systems. The question is why it is important. As I told you, you in order to work with your any cloud services uh, using API through API calls, you need to have providers. Without providers, you cannot create any resource. Okay. All right. Then next, what we have a dot, sorry, Terraform dot log dot HCL. So what exactly it is? We have a separate this thing, but I'm just giving you an overview. If you open and see here inside here, this file is maintained automatically by Terraform init. That means whenever you run Terraform for the first time, there is a file call with the same name, this thing, dot terraform log dot HCL file get creates. What is the basically information we can see here? What are the information we can see here? Well, manual edits may be lost in future updates. So first of all, we should not do any manual updates here. So it has to be updated everything automatically. You should not touch or do anything over here. But then what exactly, why it is so critical? What information can store here? So let us see this one. As I told you, we are talking about the Azure provider. So that is why whenever you're running your Terraform core, or sorry, Terraform init, the providers plugins, as I told you, getting installed, right, or downloaded. This is why you can see the registry name, and then in my case, it is a hashicop. Under that, what is the provider name? These are all the complete part, right? If you same thing see here, under here also you will get to see. Under provider, if you see here, we have registry, then as hashicop, Azure RM. If you see here, under registry hashicop, then Azure RM. Same way, if you see here, registry hashicop Azure RM. That means the providers what is been actually downloaded, those information will be stored. Along with that, if you remember still, I was telling this is the latest provider version, that is 4.222.0. Same thing which was showing here also, if you see here, this one. That means what it means basically, it records all your providers informations. That means if you run maybe after a couple of days, maybe that time this version may be changed according to that one. That means every single release, let's say this is a new one. If you're using an old one, let's say next after 3 days or 4 days, instead of 4.22.0, it may be some other, right? Let's say 4. Maybe 25, something like that. Okay, this keeps updating. The question is why it is tracking this one. Well, because if there is any changes happen in particular period of time, let's say today I'm working on the, let's say, Azure virtual machine I want to create, and I have run my Terraform core. It is deployed also working fine. Say for example, after 1 month, somebody come and says that, boss, my virtual machines or my application is not working. It was working last time. Can you check what happens? Then in this case, what is the other way we can do is that maybe what I said, that you have to check the what is the issue in the application number. But if it is a Terraform provider related issue, then you can come easily and see whenever the last Terraform was run, whenever the Terraform run for the last time, let's say this is the version that is a 4.22, then he can understand, oh, now if you check the newly, let's say now new one, if you can see here, that means now you can tell them that there is some glaze in your Terraform providers that need to be updated. Because as I told you, every single new release, there will be one of the new features will be added, right? Or some feasibility may not be there for certain resources as well. So this is the reason why this is very important for us to understand. And then also we have something called as a hash. This is called as a hash table. Basically all the data we can extract that we can also see here also. So we should not do any changes over here. Okay, this is a thing that means now we have understood what is why we require the providers and even
Okay.
the logs, why it is
Sorry
important.
to interrupt.
Yep.
I just have a small query.
Yep.
Usually in live projects, will they configure the version upgrade in such a way that it automatically updates, or
Yes.
okay, where do they do
Yes.
it? Where
Yeah.
do they define it?
Yes. Yes. Good questions. Yeah. Good questions. We actually what we do is that if you don't want particular this thing, we have the concept called there also. We will learn that also. I will show you how we can define that. Because we cannot always use the letters, because let's say I'm working today, after 1 month maybe there is a new updates, then what happens, your old functionalities may not work in new things, right? So to avoid that one, we can only use certain version, right? So that it's not affect to your existing infrastructure or applications. That is possible. That I will explain when the topic comes. That is there, that I can show you that also. Okay, while defining the providers.
Okay.
Okay, while providing the providers, that is there. Now I hope this is clear in it part. Now let's go with the next one. uh, because in it something is very much to understand. Rest all are okay, it's nothing much to explain. Validated or validations or validate. So what is the validator? Before that, if I show you, let me show you. If I see you can also understand, so that will be easy for you. As I told you, it will create a working directory also. When I use Terraform init, used to initialize a working directory that we have already seen, .tf directory, right? Terraform directory called creator, and also it has a configuration file. This is the first command, as I told you, that should be run after writing a new Terraform configurations. What else? It also downloads the providers that we have already seen that one. Now let's go with the second, that is a Terraform validate. Why we use Terraform validate? Validates the Terraform configuration files in their respective directory to ensure they are synthetically valid and internally consistent. It means that whenever you write Terraform, if you do not check Terraform validation, what happens? Let's say, how do you know your Terraform core actually is valid or syntax are correct? How do you understand that? Unless you validator, you cannot understand it, right? Maybe let's say, okay, now maybe by seeing this one you can understand, but if you have a thousands of code, piece of line of code, then how are you going to review every single code? That is not at all possible. So instead of this one, what I can do is I can simply use a, sorry, my bad. Okay, I can simply use a Terraform validate, so that they will check the code, whatever you have written code. Let's say this is a small code, let's say you have thousands of code. They can easily check your code, whether there any is there any issue in the code, maybe syntax having any issue, there are any consistent or anything. So they can check and give you feedback according to that. Now if I type here, if you noticed it, I could see here something called as a successful. The configuration is valid. That means I do not have any issue. But now let me show you. If I had to um, remove this one, that means I shifted to curly braces, but I did not use curly braces for some reason, XYZ. Okay, I have not used it because I forgot. Maybe mistakenly I have done whatever way. Now if I type here, let's see now. Now you can see here. That means the Terraform can actually help us to understand now where the issue is. If I had to make a changes now, and which part of the code where I need to make a modifications. Now if I see here, if you see here, unclose configuration block. Here main.tf line number 1. Now if I talk about a main.tf, mean we have main.tf. If you have a multiple line of like files, also you will get something like a slash with a particular folder name. In my case, this is only one folder or file. This is why I am directly able to see here. And what is the line number? Line number is 1. One number line is nothing but we are talking about the resource group. That means within your resource group blocks, there is some issue. So this is what I'm saying. Here, this under here, there is no closing brace for this block before end of the file. So it is very clear, right? This may be caused by incorrect brace nesting elsewhere in this file. It is very straightforward, right? That means it is telling me or making me, I mean, it is at least helping me to understand that, okay, that means I need to do something. Or sometimes now it is clearly mentioned, but some situation may not be that clearly, but then you need to understand the code because it's a small code. That is why it's easy to identify. Okay, so I will simply use a curly braces again. Now I will say once again, I will run it. Yes, now it is good. That means I'm good. But are we using it this in Terraform in validation? Yes. Almost every single time whenever you write Terraform code, you usually be using you must be using this validation. Otherwise, sometime you will do one or the other mistake. You're not able to identify. Okay, so I have done it. Now let's go to the next. That's plan. What is a plan actually? Plans, basically, whenever I run the plans, if you talk about the definition wise, creates an execution plan, Terraform, and also Terraform performs a refresh and determines what actions are necessary to achieve the desired state specified in the configuration file. Now, there is something called as a desired state. Okay, we'll understand that later. Basically, what is the purpose of using plan? Let me show you. Now, say for example, this is my code, right? I have written, what is my code is written? My code is going to create basically one resource group, right? So if I give a plan, they will tell me according to they will read this resource, they will read this resource and they will create. So if I type here now, Terraform plan, right? Now based on whatever I have written in my code, what happened? Anything wrong I have typed? Terraform. Machine require feature. Okay, got it. Can somebody tell me why it is not coming? Why is it having issue? If you remember, I was talking, in fact, before creating your providers, right? Before having the provider, you cannot use any resources. If you remember, I have told clearly you need a provider. So how do I get a provider? Provider you can get everywhere. There are different way of doing it. Say for example, I am creating resource group. I can simply, if I know the resource type Azure RM. Otherwise, if you not much clear with the Terraform, you simply type Terraform, sorry, resource group in Azure like that. Still, it will take you to the documents. Otherwise, if you know it, you can type. How can you type? Always define the provider name first. Azure RM is my provider name, and resource group, right? You can type here. There are many ways of exploring the same documentations. Okay. Now, if I type here, as I told you, every single resource, whenever I create, without provider, you cannot create any resource. So this is why there is something called as a use provider. Okay. So use provider, I need to define now. That means this use provider I can define from my my resource. Otherwise, I can directly define here also, directly in my registry provider. Same, both are same. So you don't have to remember this one, but then you need to know what it means, what you have to do it and everything. So if you remember money, I think I remember you were talking about this, right? This is the version I was talking, versions, right? 4 point this thing. So this can be changed. Yeah, this is the version, because as I told you, if you want to specify or mention that particular version I want to use, I don't want to interrupt with other resources or anything. So it is always good to define specific version, or maybe some within the same group of the this thing. Let's say this is a now 4 point something, right? Anything 4.2, 4.5, something like that. You can define it if you want. But for now, let me first copy these providers. Provider I can keep in main.tf also, no issue. Otherwise, I can have anything that is .tf extension. I can simply type providers dot tf. I can in fact define in my main.tf also, no issue. But for our simplicity purpose, I'm defining it here. Now, okay. Now what else we have to do here? Now, if I see here, now this is the version as I told you. Terraform, as we all know, require provider. That means we need to mention require provider. That is which one we are using Azure, right? That is what we mentioned. Azure RM is our provider name. Under this is the source. Source is nothing but what is the your what is it, registry URL. Now, if you see here, even if you go to the documents or right, and the registry, if you see registry dot terraform.io, inside there we have Azure RM. So actually normally if I had to say, the registry part should be, I mean the provider part should be from registry, then HashiCorp, then Azure RM. But if I see here, uh, you can only see HashiCorp and Azure RM, right? You cannot see the registry, but it is optional. If you want to mention, you can mention entire link, like here, as I mentioned, I shown this one. Where is that? Somewhere I have seen. Okay, so this is the this thing. But in my case, if you want to mention, you can mention. So, but source nothing but it is a registry. I did not mention full, so only this automatically will understand. Okay, this particular HashiCorp language, I mean things they want to use the Azure provider. It will be easy for them to identify, and the version you want to use it, that you can specify. And then providers, again providers, as I mentioned, it is Azure providers. I can define some features also if you want to mention. Here I can define like as part of the feature I can mention something like this features. I can make this as empty for now because I do not have any specific feature to be added. I'll keep it as it is like that now. That means it's an empty feature block. All right, now let me run once again our Terraform plan. Now let us see how we able to do it. Subscription required when performing plan. Okay, why it is required? Because subscription ID is required provider uh, pro, uh, property when performing this apply. The reason why, if you still remember, I told you we have to create the Azure CLI. Along with that, we also need to authenticate, right? Now we are simply checking it. We are not able to authenticate. So we need to basically authenticate to your resources, that is a cloud, because this particular core you need to deploy somewhere, right? How Terraform will understand where you are going to deploy this one, which environment, which subscriptions, everything, right? This is not there. So this is the reason why it is coming. So what we can do is, there are two ways we can do. The first one is using your service, basically service what's a principal. Second is using your CLI. I mean through the login, we can log in web browser. Now you can type simply Azure login. You can type if you don't know the command, that's okay. Subscription, you can type subscription in Terraform, something like that. You just need to define as a login only, normal, okay? Authenticate to you, if you see here, authenticate Terraform to Azure. So as I mentioned, you have provider, you have identified, but I need to know still which subscription I need to deploy or created my resources. Now, if you come down, as I told you, there are so many way of doing it. One of them, if you want to see here, verify, you can check PowerShell or Bash. As I mostly will use a Bash only. So you can select this one as a account show. That means this will show me that whatever I have it, if I have already. What is showing now? People show here. I have already existing account, but I am quite unsure this one. This is a true one because I don't know. Before I had one more accounts, I need to verify because one is got this one subscription. I got this. It got like disable. So this one I need to check it. This what is the ID number? C1. Let me check. This is a C1. Yeah, this is different one actually. This is for the Azure DevOps Pulse. Azure DevOps Pulse. Then next is
Now below you can see the C1 subscription ID. If you see that, you have
C1.
below the home tenant ID.
Okay. Okay. Correct.
If,
Correct. C10. Okay. Yeah. Correct. So this is the correct one. Because actually I had with the same ID, I have two accounts. So that is why I'm saying no problem. Then what we have to do? I can if it is this is the one. Where is that? Okay, here. Authenticate. Provider. I didn't know where cap. Okay, somewhere I don't know where I cap. Anyway, so what we can do is, uh, if you have already existing, we can use this thing. Maybe why it is not coming? Yes, we have disabled. Otherwise, as a account login, you can type as a login. As a type as a login, basically this will open in your web browsers. You can just type your what you call accounts details. Let me check if I have already. I don't know if this is the right one, but anyway, we will see. So as I type here, it is saying you have logged in into this thing, right? So I will give this one also. If at all required, you can log in. It's nothing. It's just as a login. That's it. Okay. So this is not required it normally, but yes, it's okay if you want to have a look once. Take a look once. I will paste it here. So we simply put as a login. Okay, so I hope this is now. That means it is login now. Now that means right now we have provided our provider ID, sorry, provider details, as well as we have login to the Azure portal also. That means now we are sure that we can log in. I mean, we can now check the plan now. Now, if I type here plan, okay, is required. Subscription ID is required, but why is asking? I have already defined, right? Provider. Okay, the one thing. I will just make this little. Maybe I will keep this one. Providers not required. Then now it's OS come. Normally we can keep empty. Let me check like this. There is some issue with my ID. Looks like I have login, but why showing still a subscription is required? If you see here, the subscription ID is required. Provider property. Because I have login through the GUI, so I normally don't need any subscription ID to be defined here. Right. So this is actually a thing. But anyway, what we'll do, I will show you basically when it comes to this thing. Okay, maybe I need to first generate one second service account and re-login back to my here. Okay, that is the thing. Anyway, I will show you that. So as I told you, a plan basically will show you whatever changes happen, or maybe whatever based on the code and also existing your infrastructure, what is being already deployed. They'll compare between the existing infrastructure and compare with your existing core. And if there is any difference, they see, they will give you the output like this is the resource going to be created like that. Okay, so that is a thing. And next we have it Terraform. Where is there? Okay, apply. Apply is nothing but basically if you want to create the resources, you will be using this thing. That means if you want to apply it, then it is going to create new resources for you. Let's say in Azure, once we log in, now we are having issue with the login, right? So once it is login successfully, then we can use the apply Terraform apply command so that it is going to create a new resources for you. And then we have a destroy to destroy the existing resource what is been already created. Okay, and also here whenever new resource is getting created, I mean destroyed, that time what happens, they will while applying Terraform apply, they'll be having state file getting, it will be created. Okay, state file will get generated, and in the state file whatever you have core in your Terraform code, all the Terraform core related the informations, let's say your infrastructure related, will be stored in your state file. It's kind of a metadata where you can see that also. Okay, so once they destroy the resource, the same state file will be taken as a backup and then destroy the existing state file. Maybe updated, destroy in the sense it will update with the new resource, or maybe let's say if you want to destroy mean that means it's a null resource. Okay, anyway, I will check this issue actually. Okay, so I'm having some issue with this thing subscription ID because I remember last time I had did it, but there are two ID, maybe one got disabled. I was not using for almost 2 years, right? So this is the reason. Maybe yeah, I will try to fix this issue. Then we can once again I can show you in the real time demo. Then we can understand better. Okay, so for now I think we are good for now. I will stop the sessions. So well, once again, thank you so much again. Yeah, thank you so much to everyone.